everyone. My name's Giulietta Talevi, and this is Uncover It, which is our weekly look at the Financial Mail's cover story of the week. Joining me is Shirley de Villiers, who's one of the editors of Financial Mail, also one of the founding editors of Currency. Shirley, nice to have you on the show today. And it's a fantastic cover image that we've used this week, which people will see shortly. It's a poker table on green baize, and all the cards represent the political parties that are vying for control of the city of Johannesburg in particular. So they are pretty much countrywide, but the city of Joburg is our focus this week. Why is the poker analogy so apt for this cover?
I think for two reasons. The one is that we're trying to figure out if politics is a game, whether Helen Zille and Herman Mashaba can actually play together. There's been such tensions between Action SA and the DA, and with the election coming up, it's the question about how they're going to play their cards, really. And right now, they're holding those very close to their chests.
Although I suppose the Financial Mail has taken certain liberties and put Herman Mashaba's image on the king, Helen Zille on the queen. I'm not sure Helen's going to be very, very happy about that, because actually the DA is in the majority so far in terms of the polling. But it does seem as if Action SA and Herman Mashaba are potentially the kingmakers. Is that really the crux of the interviews that you had with the various parties?
Yeah, so basically, if you look at polling from the SRF and the Common Sense, they have the ANC cratering to about 18% and the DA sitting at 42% and Action SA at 10%. So if you take the numbers on all of that, and obviously this is just a snapshot in time, it's not necessarily how the polls will play out. The ANC hasn't started campaigning yet. But just on those numbers, Action SA and DA together would make an easy majority. Alternately, if the ANC were to tie up with MK and EFF and the kind of rats and mice parties that they're tied up with now, and with Action SA, then they could scrape through a majority. So in some ways, it really looks as though Mashaba is holding the cards here, in that the majority either way could go to either to the DA or to the ANC, depending on where they decide to plant their flag.
But in your interviews with both Herman Mashaba and Helen Zille, how do they publicly refer to one another? Because there is no love lost in the relationship. Certainly hasn't been, certainly not on Twitter that I can see, or X rather. What did they say to you?
So Herman Mashaba was very combative, as usual. He referred to Helen Zille as a habitual liar, who said that, you can't trust her word, and basically that would struggle to negotiate with, but, he would go in with good faith. Apart from that, he basically said that Action SA has got three preconditions for talking to parties for negotiations, and they're open to any parties provided they meet those three conditions, and that would include the DA. Helen Zille was less keen to get into the specifics around coalitions. Obviously, that's something that will be negotiated once the results are in. But she did say that nothing is off the table for the DA at this point, which suggests that they would also, in at least, theoretically, be open to negotiations with Action SA. Of course, it also means that they're also open to negotiations with the ANC, which is a third option in this whole kind of shemangle.
That is Frans Cronje's preferred option, isn't it? As far as what I could tell from the story.
Yeah, so he's the director of the SRF, and he thinks that an ANC-DA tie-up would make most sense. He thinks that voters on the whole would support it. If you look at SRF, the Common Sense polling, they also polled around whether voters would support a DA-ANC tie-up in the event of hung councils. And those who strongly agreed accounted for 50%. If you factor in those who somewhat agree, you're looking at an easy support for a tie-up between the two parties. He also reckons that leaving the ANC out of any coalition is just a recipe for disaster, given that it carries the kind of hopes and aspirations of millions of people. So he thinks it needs to be part of any final governing coalition.
Shirley, did you have any sense of parties that absolutely refuse at this point to work with each other at all? That they will not be bedfellows whatever the stakes?
Well, I think we can safely say that the DA, the EFF, and the MK party are not going to hop into bed together anytime soon. When it comes to the ANC, for example, tying up with MK, up until now they haven't done that at a national or provincial level. But, Susan Boyson, who's one of the analysts I spoke to, said that, if on a national level they decide that they could get majorities in hung councils, which they could do if they tie up together, then it becomes quite a seductive option for the party. Obviously, you've also got, the populists in Panyaza Lesotho, the ANC in Gauteng, and that's also, they would be pushing more for an MK-EFF tie-up than an ANC-DA tie-up.
I mean, it is fantastically sort of overwhelming, the number of options or the permutations that could come out of November 4th elections. Would you say then that no one actually at this stage has any clarity on who will wear the mayoral chain come November the 5th?
No, I don't think you can say that at all. It's likely that the DA is going to be the majority party, but it's not necessarily going to get over the line. The ANC, even if it ties up with the smaller parties, isn't necessarily going to hold the mayoral crown. Because as you saw what happened in Tshwane, Action SA was able to leverage their power there into the mayoral position. So even if the ANC leads a coalition, it's not necessarily going to have the mayoral candidate. And one would imagine if the DA and ANC tie up, it would be because the DA is sitting at about 40%, the ANC is probably down to about 20-25%, and as a junior partner, then Helen Zille would likely take it. But those are all just kind of scenarios at this stage. There's no clarity on who it may be.
Shirley, I should have asked you, what are Herman Mashaba's 3 requirements?
So basically, he'll talk to any party if they agree that they'll be tough on corruption, if they'll crack down on undocumented migrants, and if they will ensure that they provide services equally to all parts of the cities.
Right, so whether or not you live in Bryanston or in Hillbrow, and whether or not you pay for it, I suppose, which has been, I guess, a classic issue for sort of traditional DA voters. Just last question, Shirley. Clearly, Joburg is important to us. We are Joburgers. We live in the city. We have watched it crumble around our ears. But aside from our own sort of parochial navel gazing, why is Joburg so important?
I think you need to look at Joburg in the context of the country. I mean, Gauteng is the economic heartland of South Africa, and within that, Johannesburg contributes something like 16% to GDP of South Africa. So it's central to the economic fortunes of the country, and its slide is emblematic of the slide of the country. And, for that reason, we need to watch very carefully what happens in the metro.
Well, clearly there are some betting people out there because property prices seem to be doing a bit of a turn, or having a bit of a moment in Joburg, having been in decline for so long. So maybe there are people, I suppose, putting the bet ahead of the elections, but we will see what transpires between now and November 4th. Shirley, thank you very much, and nice cover, and please do go out and read it if you want to know what the likely future is for the city of Joburg. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button. I'm not so experienced in this, but we would like some encouragement, and we would like your thoughts on this. So please also do get in touch with us and leave comments on the bottom in the comment area. Thank you very much.